When you're building something worth bragging about, whether it's a resto mod, a track toy, or your next garage masterpiece, there's no shortcut to doing it right, and doing it right starts with the equipment you can trust. That's where the Millermatic 211 Pro comes in. This machine is built for long days in the shop, delivering both MIG and flux cord welding performance you can count on. With USB enabled upgrades, auto set feature, a higher duty cycle, a 15-foot MIG gun, and dense connections, it's engineered to keep you welding all day, every day, with no drama or downtime, just results. It's compact, it's tough, and it's ready for the moment you flip the switch. So if you're serious about building stronger, cleaner, and faster, check out the Millermatic 211 Pro at millerwelds.com or hit up your nearest Miller distributor today.
Strange Motion Way podcast. I'm your host, Tim Strange, along with
Carrie Strange.
Tonight we have another zinger. We have a member of the Bonneville 200 Mile an Hour Club, Red Hat Guy. He worked at SoCal for almost 20 years. This is on the interwebs. I found this out. He was on the TV car show with one of our past guests, Car Warriors, with Brad Fanshaw. Also had another TV show called Hard Shine. Brad's was officially the longest podcast we've had. Like 3 hours and 15 minutes, because we both come from the BMX world and then the car world. So we talked, half of it was BMX. So that was a very long one. Had a TV show called Hard Shine that was filmed at SoCal. He built a traditional Ford pickup truck that kind of changed the hot rod world for a while there, and still ripple effects. He started his own shop called Shine Speed in 2015. Welcome tonight, Jimmy Shine.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. Nice to see you. Carrie, I didn't see you at Grand National, so I missed you.
No.
I had to spend time with Tim.
Yeah,
It
I
was
apologize.
so-so.
Thank you for babysitting.
Yeah, she
You're
was out
welcome.
at King of the
You're
Hammers
welcome.
out in the desert. So
Yeah.
Yes.
sometimes
Well,
it
good.
ends and she comes to the Roadster show for a day, but this year it wasn't. It was like in the middle of King of the
Yeah.
Hammers. So
I was a dirt dweller for a while.
yeah, she looks like a dirt dweller when she comes out of the desert for 2 weeks out of there. You
A
ever
lot
been
of
out
dirt
there?
out there, it turns out.
Yeah,
What's
you ever
that?
been out to? You ever been out to King of the
I
Hammers?
haven't. I've been there, but not, for the King of the Hammers event.
It's ridiculous.
It's crazy.
So,
Yeah, I've
Okay.
seen it.
let's go back to little Jimmy. Probably you weren't Jimmy Shine back then. So tell everybody what your real last name is.
Well, that's a good one. It still gets people to this day. Actually, my wife's card is right here. My wife's business card. So Falschlaner. So 12 letters
Farschweiner.
long.
I tried saying it today when we were talking and I couldn't get it out right. So
Yeah. Well, it's kind of difficult, but no, that's my real last name is Falschlander. So naturally, I've got a whole slew of nicknames and such: Flashlight, Floor Shiner, Flesh Hammer.
I
Good
like
ones like that.
Fleshhammer. I like Fleshhammer.
Yeah. I'm pretty proud of that myself. But,
Yeah. Your wife did not give you that nickname, did she?
negative Ghost Rider, she certainly did not.
So let's go back to little Jimmy. Did you grow up around the hot rod world, or how were you? I know some of this, but for the others that don't know, how did you get introduced to hot rods? Were you a young guy?
Yeah, I think, when I was born, this is the 1970s. My dad, by that time, was into like off-road sand rails, back when we called them dune buggies. So they're still dune buggies to me, but now they're, 2,000 horsepower, turbocharged, supercharged sand rails. But at that point in time, as a kid, that's what I remember first and foremost. But prior to that, my dad was into drag racing, bike racing, and stuff like that. So you might have seen my dad's 34 Ford, the three-window coupe with the blown olds. That was one of his cars, late 50s, early 60s.
Wow.
So I grew up looking at all these, pictures, albums.
And I met your dad. I've seen your dad's cars for a while. I probably met him in passing, but I visited with him for a little while at the Roadster show.
Yeah, no, I introduced you to him at Grand National this year.
Yeah, and I visited with him while you ran to the bathroom when we tried to do video that I screwed up the sound on. That we're still trying to fix that from the Roadster show. But yeah, your dad does. My dad's a character, and your dad is definitely a character. Yeah.
Okay, that's the way to put it.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. No, I'm glad you got to talk to him. It's good for my pop to get out and get rid of the Roadster show, and it was cool. It's cool that John Buck. I talked to him last minute. It's like, hey, listen, we got a lot of stuff going on in the family. I think it'd be really good for my pop to see his coupe there at the Roadster show and get to talk to some of his old friends and so on and so forth. So John was real accommodating and helped us out, helped me out. So I got to show my dad's car and raw steel that's been in for the last 15 years that I've been driving it. And that's not by design. Just because I had one raw steel car doesn't mean I want two. I intend to paint them, and just haven't gotten around to it.
Yeah. Your own projects take the back burner for sure.
Right.
So, always a Southern California guy?
Yeah. Born and raised in Southern California, born in Temple City, moved to Orange County, Tustin area, early 70s. Lived there. My dad still lives in the same house that we moved into in, I think, 73. But I've always lived as far north as like LA and as far south as San Clemente. So I'm pretty much within about 60 miles, of where I was born and raised and all that good stuff. So I haven't really ventured too far as living wise. Traveled wise, I've been fortunate to go all over the world. Yeah. This is my town.
Yeah. I get enough during the Roadster show of Southern California. I don't know if I could. There's just too many. It's very peoply. Yeah, it's a lot of people.
Very, very peoply. That's a nice statement. Yeah, I guess it's like anything, I mean, the different cities are totally different, LA is about 32 miles north of us here, and San Clemente, the beach town that I lived in, another 30 miles south of us. I mean, just totally 180 degrees, totally opposite.
Yeah.
And I've lived in both. And I'm not really an LA guy, let's say. But Orange County, where we are, Old Town Orange, we got a real good neighbors, real good community, very car oriented. You have a cat.
Yeah, Old Town Orange, if people don't know, if you're a movie buff, the movie That Thing You Do was filmed in downtown Orange.
Yeah, right. The Circle. That's at Watson's Drugstore. And it was founded in like 1890 something. And they recently, there was a Tom Hanks movie. That Thing You Do was filmed, part of it, in the Circle of Orange with like the Army Navy store and all that. It's still there. It's really cool. Downtown city of Orange is super bitchin'. But that particular movie part of it was filmed there. And then they turned it into like some bougie taco place that sucked and was super expensive. So there's actually talk of actually converting it back to the original Watson's Drugstore. It was great. You used to take our kids down there. You get like a real chocolate malt or a milkshake. And it was a true soda fountain, with all the funky candies. And it was, I thought it was super cool. But I don't know. Hopefully they bring it back.
Yeah.
So
Carrie's feeling a little bit under the weather.
I
Yesterday she couldn't even hardly talk, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
Carrie almost lost her voice.
I'm doing the best I can.
Yeah.
So if I start coughing or disappear,
Yeah.
forgive me. But what size high school did you go to?
What size?
Yeah, big, small.
Oh, I don't know. It wasn't small. It's not like a high desert community. I think there was probably maybe a couple thousand kids.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So that's big for us.
Yeah.
That's big for us.
Okay, I think so.
What kind of student were you? Were you like just trying to get by? Were you the average Joe, or were you a super accelerator?
I think it depends on the subject. I liked math, science, all that kind of stuff. I think I did good. I wasn't really like chasing anything scholastically. I was a good student. I mean, I was very time organized. It's like I had a job after school and I was building my hot rods and my bikes and all that. And so,
What was your job? What was your first job?
Well, my real first job was working for my mom was a secretary at a sign company, silk screening, like doing like running card, they called it, for like, housing and they bootleg card at night, staple up, oh, open house, check out this new housing tract, whatever it was. And so I was doing silk screening, and this is back in the early 80s. So I would go after school. My mom would pick me up, take me down to that shop in Santa Ana, drop me off, and I'd work till like 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night. And then she'd come and pick me up, and I'd go home, go to bed, go to school the next day, and repeat. But to do that, I always had, you got homework in school, but people don't use their time efficiently. The teacher, if you have a 35-minute period, is I think what our periods were, 8 periods, 35 minutes each. And the teacher would only talk maybe 10 minutes and have something to do and like give you your assignment. And say, oh, that's homework for tonight, take it home. Well, that's, I still have another, 15, 20 minutes in the class. And I could stand there, it's bullshit with somebody. Or it's like, well, I'm going to go to work at night so I can make some money to build my car. So I did all my homework in school. So when I get home at night, or whatever, my mom would say, like, where's your homework? I was like, I don't have any. Well, why not? Doesn't everybody else have homework? I go, oh, no, I had homework. I just already did it. I did it in class because I want to get out of class and go do something else. Waste of time. So I think I was a good student. I got good grades. I did really good. I just didn't really pursue it.
Were you in any sports?
No.
Did you have
No,
auto
I mean,
class
I
at
did
school?
everything I did was like, outdoors, BMX, bicycles, skateboards, motorcycles, surfing, diving.
Okay,
I
well,
like
we're
an
BMX
organized
people, so
sport.
I got to know what type of BMX bike you had because we're BMX people.
My first one that I was super proud of was a Webco. Do you know what a Webco is?
Yeah.
Okay, because nobody does. I've said that to people. I mean,
Yeah.
that thing's a dinosaur. That was mid 70s.
And highly
It was
collectible.
heavy. Oh, yeah, I just cut this thing up too. But the first one with Ashtabula forks.
Yeah.
Remember that? Oh, in 70s, you had to have like the heavy duty spokes.
You don't want to Google what that frame and fork's worth right now.
Really? Oh, no, now I do.
Yeah, it's probably worth
a lot of regret. I mean, I've
Right.
just.
With those forks, it's probably a few $1,000s, the frame and fork.
You're kidding.
Yeah, 80s, 70s, 80s BMX stuff is ridiculous. Ridiculous expensive. Yeah.
Maybe I should talk to Fan Shroud about that.
Yeah. Yeah, he hosts the Nebraska BMX Hall of Fame. I'm actually the host for the National BMX Hall of Fame ceremony.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh,
so I'm kind of a BMX history nerd all along with the hot rod nerd. So, yeah.
So you have
Kinda.
many different levels of nerddom.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I actually,
like-
some of the announcing stuff I do in the summer, I've been working, this is my second year with Flow Racing, the online coverage. I go to BMX Pro events and I interview the pros and do sponsor interviews and all that. So yeah, we're still deep in the BMX world.
Oh, cool. Very good. Yeah, I kind of outgrew that. I can't really do it anymore. So, yeah, I don't need it. I like collecting things like dollar bills. It's
Yeah.
my favorite thing to collect now.
So did you just ride a little bit of BMX? Did you ride just around town or did you race at a track?
Did some track stuff, but that was just for fun and a gas. I just wasn't really that into it as far as, I mean, our favorite things were get out of school or whatever, and go out to the fields. We had orange groves, cornfields, avocado.
Orange, California was the mecca for BMX. Like Santa Ana was where GT
Oh,
was,
yeah.
when everything
Oh,
was
yeah.
still American made. And like so many Hall of Famer pros come from Orange County, from Orange Y was their local track.
Yep. No, they actually just demoed that a few years ago. But no, there was a bunch of tracks around here and such, but we made a lot of our own tracks and jumps and stuff like that because we like not only riding BMX but having our guns with us too to go hunting and all that fun stuff. So yeah, they didn't really like that at the tracks too much.
No. They definitely wouldn't anymore. No.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we should try it.
Yeah. So did you have like auto program or anything at school? Any auto classes or no?
Auto program?
Yeah, like auto tech. Some high schools have like a car program that you can learn mechanics and stuff. Did you have any of that?
Yeah, it was just auto shop.
Yeah.
Auto shop, we had a metal shop. and wood shop.
What did I say? What did I say? Auto what?
Program.
Auto program. Yeah, auto shop.
Auto pros. I don't know. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was good, basic introductory stuff. Mr. Beck was our auto shop teacher. And then Mr. Ashby, he was the metal shop teacher. And I thought they did. I mean, I wish they would bring that back. You know, a
Mhm.
lot of kids, you know, just have zero knowledge on how to do the simplest thing, how to put a chain back on their bicycle when it falls off.
Yeah,
You know?
right.
Mhm.
We have a good auto program here, not far from the house. We've talked about it a lot on the program here. That it's a county one, and it's like it looks like a junior college. And we go talk to the kids. And he goes, but you kind of forget there's some kids that are like the farm kids. They're like, oh man, yeah, they can do a brake job on their mom's car. But he says the other half, you have to teach them the difference in a screwdriver or how pliers work. I mean, he goes, some of these kids have nobody teaching them stuff, and you kind of take it for granted that if you're going to take an auto program, auto class, that you know what some tools are. But he says half of them don't, so you have to start the ground level.
Yeah, no, I totally see that. And there are those kids out there that have that interest. You know, what upsets me and are these things
Mm-hmm.
because people go to them for everything, for every bit of knowledge. It's not like they really learn anything. They just regurgitate what they read. They Google
Yeah.
it and they just regurgitate it. I don't know if they really learn anything.
Yeah.
And then a lot of it isn't. There's something about when somebody physically does something with their hands that really ingrains in your mind. To read about it or see a picture or whatever, I think it's more important to get those kids or even adults out there to actually physically do that. I think, and there's a lot of satisfaction you see when people actually. I've done this in the past with certain people in the neighborhood, young kids, bring them in the shop, carefully, of course, but just show them how to take a piece of, you know, round bar stock of aluminum and put it in the lathe and how to use a piece of tooling and engage, you know, the auto feed and, you know, make a cut and you're machining, you know, a piece of metal.
Mm-hmm.
And just as simple and as dumb as that sounds, you just watch them light up like, oh my God,
Mm-hmm.
a piece of metal in a drill press clamped and drilling a hole. You just made a hole in that. It's we take all this, you know, so much for granted. And I think, you know, you and I, we've all grown up. The majority of us grew up in an earlier time where this was just so normal and commonplace to us. And I
Mm-hmm.
think, you know, there's great, you know, things about technology, and there's also, you know, bad things. I think a lot of it's removed from the people actually learning it. But
Yeah.
and again, something simple like that, you get some kid in the shop, show them how to run a drill press or a hydraulic press, or take a piece of sheet metal and a brake and put a bend in it and make this out of it or whatever. It's once they know they can do it, it's like, oh my God, that was easy. I can do this. And it gets their brain working. And I really like
Mm-hmm.
seeing that as well.
Yeah. So when you said you were working for your mom's business where she worked, so you could buy stuff for your car, what was your first car?
1940 Willys pickup truck, gasser.
Wow, that's a serious first vehicle. That's a serious, yeah.
I don't screw around. And again, well, it's pretty cool. All steel 40 Willys, and I paid $950 for it. I'll send you a picture of it. It was a picture of me as a kid with one of my buddies. I paid $950 for it, all steel. I built my own tube chassis, designed my own four-link suspension, built it in my parents' garage with oxyacetylene to do my sheet metal and an Airco little arc welder with 6013 universal rod. Cut all my own chassis, 2x3, eighth well square tubing or rectangular tubing with a hacksaw. I think that's how I took the top of that knuckle off. But yeah, so that was
So it obviously helped because your dad was a hot rodder for his life, so you had tools that you could use.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I look back on it now. It's like I had like one old Black and Decker electric drill that my dad had, a little plastic box full of just miscellaneous drill bits. It's nothing, you know, like my shop or my, you know,
Mm-hmm.
garage at home now. This is the 1970s, early 1980s. What, you know, my dad had was enough. Craftsman toolbox, bunch of hand tools, some hammers, pliers, hacksaw, oxyacetylene torches, arc welder. It's amazing what you can do with very little when you're inspired.
Mm-hmm.
Like now, if I had to go out there and work on a chassis and use a hacksaw to cut my tubing, I'm going home. I'm not going to do it.
We had Dale Besh from Nebraska on the podcast. I call him, he was the Midwest Boyd Coddington to me, being a Midwest farm kid. And a bunch of magazines, still building off some stuff. He told us a story when he was on the podcast that he widened his first set of wheels with a hacksaw. He cut them and got a piece of, the right, and cut two and hooked them. That's hardcore.
Were these steel wheels or aluminum?
Steel wheels. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've rolled hoops. I made a set of widened rally wheels, probably 1986, 1987. And it didn't work out so well, but that was an exercise to cut it and, slip roll a band and weld it all together. Oh, no, it was, if you stood back real far and squinted, it looked great, but it was far from good.
Was it like a clown car when you drove it? It was
I threw it in the trash, but I learned how not to do it.
That's right. I still learned how not to do something.
I learned how to not to do things all the time.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I got kennel cough.
So you get out of high school. What was the next plan of attack? One, was your Willys your driver in high school, or did you have another, like a beater, so you could save money for the Willys truck? Did you have another? What was your mode of transportation?
No, the funny thing is, and I still have this problem today, is I have these ideas that I like to do. And so like I built the Willys. I think I drove it for about a year. I was bored. I sold it. And then I built a Nomad. I had an Anglia, a 1948 Anglia. That was the first car I ever chopped. Tube chassis, narrowed Pontiac rear end, Hillborn injected, small block Chevy. I never finished it. I ended up selling it. But that was the first car I ruined. I chopped it, sectioned the roof, all this good stuff, gas welded it, destroyed it. But I learned another way to not do something. It's like, ruin
you
that.
didn't have daily transportation like a Chevy Love pickup truck or something like that you ran around in? It was just
I had the Willys. I had the Willys. Then I had my 56 Nomad. Then I was building my 48 Anglia at the same time. Then I sold the Nomad, bought a 55 Chevy, built it into a 4-wheel drive, big block 4-speed. Because at that time I really liked riding motorcycles and go to the dunes and the desert. So I built a 55 Chevy, big block 4-speed, 4-wheel drive. This is all in high school. And then I had that, and I sold the Anglia. Somehow I got my Model A coupe, and that's the first good chop job I ever did, was my Model A. Then I had that for a while, and then my senior year, that's when I built my 47 Indian motorcycle and went to jail. It was stolen.
Wow.
I traded the 55 Chevy truck for it at Pomona Swap Meet. And, I'm 17 years old, about as sharp as a sack of wet mice. And I saw this Indian motorcycle. I was like, oh, God, I got to have it. Got to have that thing. Talking to the guy and being 17, I said, hey, I've got a 55 Chevy truck with a big blocker 4-speed. I'll trade you for that, that hunk of shit over there. And he's like, okay. He gave me a handwritten bill of sale. Well, when I built my the Willys truck, that's all I had was a handwritten bill of sale. I took it to the DMV, on a trailer with my dad, and they just ran the numbers on it, came back, and they issued me a pink slip and all this kind of stuff. I didn't really understand how it worked. So the 47 Indian, he wrote me a bill of sale for it, and I just gave him the pink slip for my truck. This guy was smarter than me by a lot, and he went and he took the truck, put it into somebody else's name, and then at this time I've got this 47 Indian flathead, and I restored the whole bike. Before I tried to register it. Yeah. Another way not to do something. So my buddy Jason and I took it down to the DMV in Costa Mesa in the back of his 68 Dodge truck. Sitting out there, and I talked to the lady, and I handed this lady all my paperwork. And she's like, well, why don't you go outside and just wait with the motorcycle, and I'll have somebody come out and assist you. It's like, okay, that sounds fine. So I left this lady with my receipts and all my stuff and this handwritten bill of sale. It's got the numbers stamped in the neck of the chassis and numbers on the motor and all that. Cool, right on. So sitting out there in the back of my buddy's truck, and I hear sirens, hear a helicopter flying above. When sirens, cop cars come rushing into the parking lot there. And so Jason and I are going, wow, wonder what's going on. Something's happening around here. I'm looking, cops come flying up, jump out of the cars, they come running. They're running right towards me. And I'm like, I wonder where they're going. I'm looking behind me. These guys just tackle me. They got guns in my head, all this kind of stuff. And it's like, man, they cuffed me, stuffed me, and jerked my bike, put me in jail. And this was like right before my 18th birthday. And it's like, this is not good. So it turns out the bike was stolen. And I didn't own it. And I restored it. So they threw me in the jug, and that was a sobering moment. I actually is like, I'm sitting in there, it's like, dude. And one of my jokes was when I was a kid, it's like, because I'm me, you're 15 years old, call home. I'm someplace I should, whatever thing. Call home. Hi, Mom, I'm in jail. Just making a joke. So I called my mom. I said, Mom, I'm in jail. Not kidding. No, seriously, I'm in jail. So I talked to the detective, and they pretty much came to the conclusion. I was there for like a day or so. They came to the conclusion I didn't steal it. It's like, but you're screwed. It's like, actually, we've contacted the gentleman. The registration still comes up. It was stolen in like 1968 out of his backyard in Bakersfield.
Wow.
So it was still on file, everything. And it's like, oh, wow, cool. Well, can I have his phone number? I mean, there's some way I can, maybe get a hold of this guy and see if I can get my motorcycle back. And I said, no, we cannot, by law, we can't let you have his
restoring
contact.
it, though.
Huh? Oh,
He
yeah,
thanks you for restoring it.
Yes, yeah, thanks for restoring it. And actually, the guy's name was Jack Sanguetti, still living in Bakersfield, the same house that was stolen from in 1968. And this is 1988, so 20 years. 20 years since it's been stolen. He's an old feller. And so it's like, well, can you give him my phone number? And the detective says, well, I guess so. I said, I sure hope he calls me. So about a day later, like I was pretty blue and sad, I'll tell you what. Get a phone call, and it's this old feller. He's like, hey, I saw pictures from the detectives. Man, you did a great job restoring that bike. It never looked like that. He goes, but unfortunately, he's like, it's still mine. And I said, yes, sir, I understand. I said, well, if there was some way I could, possibly buy it back or whatever, I had no money. And he goes, I tell you what, why don't you give me $1,000 cash and I'll give you the pink slip. And it's like, okay, well, I know that bike's worth quite a bit. It's like $1,000. I had to borrow $1,000 from my parents. He said, well, why don't you just drive up to Bakersfield? We talked quite a bit, so we had an understanding. I was into hot rods and cars and bikes, and I told him different stuff I had, my Model A coupe and my 48 Anglia. And he said, why don't you just drive up here? Why don't you drive up? You have a truck to drive? And I said, yeah. My dad's 69 Chevy truck. And I said, yeah, I could drive up in a truck. And he's like, well, why don't you drive up here and bring me $1,000? I'll give you the pink slip and show you around my place. So my buddy Rob and I drove up there and go to this dude's house. And it was really cool. It was like a stepping back in time. He had this like Kwanzaa hut in the backyard, and he had this one big electric motor and the big leather straps going up to jack shafts and to run all of his different machinery. I mean, he was a jack of all. And his name was Jack, but just a super good dude. He's showing me all this stuff, and he's into cars and bikes. And he's like, hey, you said you had a 48 Anglia. I go, yeah. And he goes, well, what's you got all your sheet metal and your hoods and fenders? I go, oh, my stuff's fiberglass. He goes, well, there's a complete steel one over there. Do you want it? I'm like, uh-huh. He ended up giving me, I forget how much different stuff. He's like, I just junk laying around here, but you could probably use it. So I gave him $1,000. I had a really good visit with this old guy. Loaded up the truck full of all these car parts and stuff that he didn't want. So I was able to take it all home to my parents' house. I still lived at home. And like a week or so later was the Pomona swap meet again. It comes full circle. It all started there. I went out there with all these parts and pieces that I wasn't going to use. I had, I can use that on my Model A. I can use this on my Anglia, but I don't need this, don't need that, don't. I ended up selling a bunch of this stuff this guy gave me, and I paid my parents back the $1,000 they loaned me. And I still had a couple $100, and I had my motorcycle back. And what a great story to tell.
Did you take it back down to the DMV and get it registered again?
You know what? I don't remember. I think so.
I don't think I would. I'd be just we're
that's
just
a pretty good payback for spending a day in jail.
Yeah, I mean, the experience you get, and again, something not to do, but it was super fun. I mean, looking back on it, it was horrifying and scary, and like I'm going to lose my bike and all this other stuff. I had quite a few of those experiences throughout my life. Not the exact same one, but I have made a few mistakes here and there.
And so this time you're still in high school. What happened when you got out of high school? Did you have a full-time job, or what were you doing out of high school?
No, a certain friend of mine had a shop building choppers or Harleys and stuff like that, and kind of a biker dude. And I kind of worked for him for a while, doing that kind of stuff. And where did I go? Oh, got a job working up in Glendale. It's probably 19 or so by this time. Still building bikes. I got a job at this place called Hog Dogs. Remember, this is the 1980s. That's a great name. H-A-W-G, Hog Dogs, D-A-W-G-S, Hogs Dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, but they built like really high-end bikes for that time, Hot Bike Magazine and all that.
Mm-hmm.
What was his name? Joe Croninger, Delcron, like engine cases. He's the Croninger, and there's the other guy. And then there was Jim Torrey, painter. So I got to work on bikes for like Bruce Springsteen, Billy Idol, Rick Bramlett.
Oh,
and
wow.
I mean, I was like 19 years old, and so moved to LA, lived with my girlfriend.
Did you have your nickname yet?
Oh God, like I said, I've had a whole bunch. Well, actually, when I was still in high school, before I worked for McCoy Sheet Metal, sweeping the floors, founded in 1928. Super bitchin' old building, all wood floors. These old time sheet metal guys doing a lot of copper work. They taught me how to TIG weld. And then I used to ride my bike down to Santa Ana on my bicycle. I worked for Greg Peterson's Engineering, which was a little tiny shop, and Greg's a unique fella. We're still friends to this day. I love him. But so I worked out of his little hot rod shop. So yeah, that was through high school. McCoy Sheet Metal.
Did one of those guys give you the Jimmy Shine nickname?
Well, actually, it was like again, it's actually come full circle. When I was at McCoy Sheet Metal, Falschlainer, they call me floor shiner because I swept the floors, cleaned the toilet, swept the floors, cleaned the coffee pot, and then I volunteered to like get extra time, stay there at night, and I'd paint all the machinery in the shop because it was all really dingy. And Mr. McCoy's like, "Here's a key to the building. You're 14 years old." And he gives me a key, and everybody goes home. The adults have split. That was the 1980s. And I'd stay there till like 6, 7 o'clock, and I'd pick out one machine, I'd clean it and mask everything off. And then I had just buckets of this green industrial paint, and I just repaint everything. It was really cool. And I was able to, earn extra money. I made $4 an hour. So, by the end of the week.
Decent money then. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I built my cars and all that stuff.
So your name got shortened from Floor Shiner.
Floor Shiner. Yeah.
I always
actually
thought it
want
was
to
a
credit.
nickname that like came like because they called that one guy was Jimmy Shine in Hollywood Nights. That's in my mind. That's what I thought it
I've
was.
heard
Something
that so many
way
times.
cooler than that. Yeah.
And that's cool, but it's not. It didn't happen that way. It was Floor Shiner, and there's a couple other ones. And it was actually, if do you know Dave Freston, Chopper Dave? Do you know him
Yeah.
at all?
I know
Okay,
who he is.
Chopper Dave Freston and I have been friends since we were 15, 16. And there was the Floor Shiner and the Shiner. It somehow, I want to say it was Dave Freston is the one that started the Shine thing, because I don't remember it any other time. And then it's not the coolest thing either.
It's better than Tim's nickname. Tim was Timmy No Shine.
Yeah, my aunt called me that when I was starting to paint cars, and that was probably about the same time that he was in magazines and stuff because my uncle was a car guy, and they called me Timmy No Shine. Yeah,
But Timmy
and
Low Gloss.
yeah, she called me Timmy. My aunt called me Timmy No Shine.
He hated it.
I
too.
hated it. Yeah.
Well, I'm
I
glad it
missed her,
didn't
though.
stick.
Yeah.
I'm glad it didn't stick.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot has happened. A lot has happened. It's all good.
So we're gonna bounce around a little bit. You said you were living with a girlfriend at that time. When did you and your wife meet? Were you guys high school? Did you go to the same high school, or how did you guys meet?
I've known my wife. You met Nikki at Grand National.
Yeah, I've
We've
met her
known
quite
each
a few
other,
times, yeah.
huh?
I've met her quite a few times. Yeah.
Okay, but as recently as Grand National, so you can
Yeah.
remember. But no, we've known each other since we were like 12, 13. She was in 7th grade. I was in 8th grade, I think. So I was friends with her older brother, and then when she went to 7th grade, met at the bus stop. Oh yeah, she had nothing to do with me. Not a thing. So she did not like me. So we knew each other. Like her brother Chad and I are like real good friends, and go riding motorcycles and shooting guns and having fun. Yeah, I wasn't a football player. I wasn't into sports, so needless to say, I wasn't really on her radar. And then I got into high school, and actually, this goes back to the 40 Willys pickup truck because I was so proud of that, and I figured, oh God, what is that? What's that song? If I had that girl, or if I had that car, I could get that girl. And like that was like, if you had a cool car, I thought, oh, dude, every chick is gonna want to hang out with you, or be your girlfriend, or ride in your really bitchin' car. No, they don't care. Did not care at all. Girls like,
No,
oh,
Carrie
well,
did, because I had a cool square body. I had a Chevelle too, but I had a cool square body that it was lowered and had paint on it that I bought from my boss at the body shop, and I wrecked it. I mean, we knew each other, small town, for years, but like I wrecked it the week before our first official date, and I showed up in my mom's Beretta, and she's like, "Where's your truck?" No social media back there. Oh, but nobody knew you wrecked my truck. And she almost didn't go on the first date because she didn't want to ride in the Beretta. She wanted to go in the cool lowered pickup truck. So,
well, then you should have called me, Carrie. No,
I asked him, I
okay,
said,
and you're
well, are you gonna
absolutely
fix
right.
this? You gonna fix
You're
it?
absolutely right. Though it's like, so where Nikki's parents lived is 2 streets down from my parents. So I think I was a sophomore in high school. Nikki was a freshman. And it's like, man, like I say, I was super proud to have this 40 Willys gasser truck. Drove over to her parents' house and standing there in the garage talking to her dad. Her dad's got Harleys, and I think he had a 40 Ford at that time too, a 40 Ford pickup. So I was like, yeah, I mean, this is going to go real well. He knows me and all that. So like this little, what they call like a Volkswagen Jetta or whatever they were at those 1980s. Comes pulling up, and it's one of Nikki's little girlfriends and her, and they just came home from the beach and all this kind of stuff. And she gets out, she's walking up the driveway, and it's like, all right, here's my chance. And I said, hi. I said, hey, how would you like to go out tonight? Just go cruise the beach, in my hot rod truck over there. What do you think? And she looks at me, looks me up and down, says no. Walks past me in the fridge, gets Diet Coke, and goes in the house. And it's like, wow, that didn't go very well. So yeah, she really didn't have too much to do with me. And, I got married when I was like 21, had a kid, Morgan, my oldest daughter. That didn't work out. Then a couple other things didn't work out too well in life either. And then I ran into Nikki 1999, and she was going through, she had a little girl, a couple years old, going through a divorce, same thing. We just happened to run into each other. And it's like, wow, about time. About time. And so that's been since like 1999.
Hmm.
But I still don't think she likes me very much.
Yeah. Yeah. Setting this podcast up with technology, yeah, I'd have to agree with you. She didn't. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the writing's on the wall, and I can read.
Yeah. My wife looks at me and just shakes her head, says, "I'm too old to start over." I translate it and says, "I love you." That's what I think she's meaning, but no, that's what she's seeing. That's the look that I'm getting.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, you're working at the motorcycle place, building bikes for all those guys. How long were you at that place?
Oh, year and a half, maybe. And then I don't know. I get bored easy. Then I got offered a job. Oh no, buddy of mine. Oh, I have to like think back and remember. I don't think about this stuff. My buddy Keith calls me up. No, it was Todd. Todd. And he was working for CBS Studios. And they were building some kind of set for a TV show, a TV series. Hey, you can weld. Can you build some stuff? And he was like showing me like some sketches somebody did. And of course, it's like I look at, of course I can. I can do anything. So I ended up looking at some drawings, and then I came up with a bunch of crap my buddy Keith and I built. It was a Howie Mandel like kids show. This is like 1990, 1991. The Amazing Live Sea Monkeys.
Okay.
But it was Howie Mandel, that other kid that became a really famous actor. We built all these props, and we built like this whole studio set for this whole TV show. And of course, I think I totally underbid it, but it was something fun to do. And we built all this stuff. And then they asked me if I wanted to be on the swing gang. And I said, cool. What's that? And it's like you deal with like the stage and the props and all this kind of crap. And so I said, well, I need a job. My wife's pregnant. I'm 20 years old. I should probably, this was fun. So they offered me a job to do this. And so I think I was on the swing crew riding around in this big like B-class truck or whatever for about a day. And then the guy that was the lead man quit. So we got this TV production going. The guy who's the lead man, who's in charge of the swing crew, basically strong back, weak mind. I'm just picking up stuff, carrying around, putting on the stage, whatever it was. And they said, well, we don't have a lead man. I said, do you have a commercial license? Can you drive that truck? And I said, oh yeah, of course I do. I didn't, but they gave me the job. And I'm sitting out there trying to figure out how to make this thing work. And I got the thing to work, and air brakes and all that good stuff. But I totally I don't know. Why not? I'll figure it out. So then I worked on a TV show for a while. And then I decided I better get a commercial license. I could drive a truck. I'm smart enough. And truck driving is pretty tough. But I got a commercial license, and I ended up going to work back down in Orange County because that whole situation didn't work out so well. So I moved back down to Orange County.
We don't really name our episodes of the podcast, but so far it's, well, that didn't work out so well. That's what this one is.
That didn't work out so. Hey, it's got me here though. Which,
yeah, right.
Cool. But I ended up driving concrete trucks and doing like excavation, all that early 90s. And I actually really enjoyed it. Super fun, hard work. I had a really I worked for a really good dude and good company. Got a brand new Peterbilt truck that was all polished Alcoas. I'm like, oh shit, yeah. That's like a big hot rod is what that is. And then I did that for probably 4 years, 5 years, maybe. Something like that.
And then I got a call. During all this, did you still have motorcycles and hot rods for yourself? Or?
Oh yeah, no, I had my panhead, built my panhead, sold that, was building. I had my rigid shovel, 98-inch rigid shovel, and a 52 like lowrider Chevy pickup. And that was my daily. Lived in San Clemente. I had a little garage, had tools and that kind of stuff. I was building my chopper there, and my daily was a 52 Chevy pickup, just slammed white walls. That cool. It was cool. Like Dove Gray was bitching. Then was working at the concrete plant, and of all places, I got a phone call. I got dispatched from the office down to the plant. Like, hey, there's a guy on the phone that a friend of yours needs to talk to you. It's like, whatever, during work hours. And so this guy on the phone's like, oh, hey, what's up? He was working for Pete Shaporis at PC3G. He goes, hey, I'm giving you a call. I've been working for Pete Shaporis. I was like, oh, cool. That's great, He goes, hey, but he says he's like looking for some young blood, looking for some young guys that can, build hot rods and all that kind of stuff. And if you knew anybody, and I'm like, man, I really can't think of anybody. I don't know anybody to be qualified to work for Pete Shaporis. Pete and Jace, are you kidding me? I don't know anybody. And he goes, no, dummy.
This is like that scene in the end of Dumb and Dumber when the bikini models get off the bus looking for directions, and they could have got on the bus and they just went, oh, I think there's a town that way. That's kind of what the feeling I'm getting here. Yeah, I don't really know anybody. Yeah.
It went right over my head. It's like, oh, I don't know. It was like, I certainly didn't think of myself as being even remotely qualified. It's like, I don't know, I build my junk. My stuff's junk. Nothing like what, Pete Shaporis does and his crew. And he goes, well, I was actually thinking about you. I think you should make a phone call and maybe, it's like, really? He would consider me? So I actually called. I went up there.
A little history thing to plug in here. We talked about this with the VZ brothers. We had them on and they worked there. And so he sold Pete and Jake's, and then he kind of did some other thing, and then he was PC3G or Pete
Shaporis, the third group.
Yeah.
Well, he also had Syntassian before that. After Pete and Jake's, he had to sign a non-compete agreement with Jerry Slover. That's when Pete went to work for SEMA in like 1986 is when they sold Pete and Jake's. And then early 90s, he started Syntassian. I think that was he and Bob Bowder. And they had that little business for a while. And then he branched off and he went to PC3G. Pete Shaporis, he's the third. His dad was the second, etc.
And at that time, they were building some really epic. I mean, he's always built epic cars, but.
Oh, yeah. That's when Copperhead was built. Killer Coupe, Don Simpson's Coupe.
Yeah, that Chevy Coupe's so good.
93, 94. Building some really cool stuff. I mean, super traditional, but hot roddy. I mean, that was a lot changed in the early 90s, from the 80s to early 90s to the late 90s. There was a lot of growth and a lot of things changed a lot, which was really good. But so yeah, I went and I didn't meet Pete Shaporis. I went up to PC3G up in Pomona, and I met with Pete Eastwood. And Pete Eastwood actually took me on a tour of the shop, introduced me to people, asked me questions, shaking me down. And then he said, okay, cool. Why don't you call back and ask for Pete? And I got confused. It's like, well, wait, Pete, you're Pete. Which Pete am I asking for? Anyway, so I left my resume there. I have a resume, and I had this whole portfolio of all my cars and bikes and all my stuff. And I left that there, and it was probably a few days later, I got a call back and say, oh, hey, this is Pete. I was like, oh, hi, Pete. And I thought it was Pete Eastwood. It was Pete Shaporis I was talking to. He goes, I really like this. And I said something to him, and I realized, like, oh, wait, that's not Pete Eastwood. I'm talking to Pete Shaporis. Because I said something. I was like, well, when we were talking about this, he goes, no, I didn't talk to you. I didn't talk to you. And that's when I put two and two together. He says, well, if you have time, I'd really like it if you'd come up to the shop in Pomona. I'd like to have a sit down with you and talk and interview and see what's going on. And I said, I'd love it. Thank you. So I made an appointment with him. Drove up to Pomona, And this was like in 95, 96. And I remember it was really, really hot. So I drove up there, my little Nissan truck, my little surfer truck at the time, drive up there. I meet Carol at the reception desk, and she takes me upstairs to Pete's Crow's Nest. Sit down there, and he's got my book laid out and all my stuff. And I'm looking around his office, like, oh, wow, just cool hot rod memorabilia, just like really special, unique stuff. It was like, wow, this is surreal. I'm in Pete Shaporis's office. This is nuts. And we talked, and I settled down real quick. I was pretty damn nervous. He's like, just super sweet dude. And we talked about all these different cars and all this different stuff. And he liked my resume, liked all my stuff. He liked it. And he says, where do you live? I said, well, I live in San Clemente. And he goes, well, how many miles away is that from here? I said, well, actually, it's about 68. And that's,
Wow.
through local, Orange County, LA highways. He's like, wow. He's like, so how are you going to get to work on time? How am I supposed to rely on you to get to work on time if I gave you a job? I said, don't you worry about that, sir. I'll show up early. I'll take a short lunch and I'll leave late, whatever it takes. If I say I'm going to be here, if you give me a job, I will be here. He's like, all right, I like that. And so that went really well. And then he's like, I got to tell you, though, there's something about your name. Falschlainer. It's like, there's something about your name. I'm like, oh no, where is this going? And I knew he went to El Monte High, and he was a San Gabriel Valley guy. And my dad knew him, and he knew my dad. But it was like street racer days. Because I remember being a little kid going down Las Tunas in Temple City in my dad's 69 Chevy truck. Pete Shaporis pulled up next to us driving the California Kid. And I was like, oh, I'm a little kid hanging on the door. And this is like 1975, 1976. And it was after the California Kid came out. I was a little geek. And I remember hanging on the door of the truck going, look at this badass black flame chopped 3-window coupe. And my dad's like, oh, yeah, that guy is Pete Shaporis, and that's the California Kid. And it was just super cool. I'll never forget it. That Pete was sitting in the wheel, behind the wheel. And he's like, had his beard and his hair and all this stuff. And he just looked up and just waved at me. And then the light went green. He took off, But I'll never forget that. It's like that was my first introduction to Pete Shaporis when I was like 5 or 6 years old. And it's like left an indelible mark on my mind. So if I take a step back in my story, like going to sit in Pete Shaporis's office, there was a lot already going on in my mind. But then he brought up my last name. He goes, that sounds awful familiar. I think there was a guy back in like the early 60s, had like a chopped, like red 3-window 34 coupe, kind of a street racer guy. And I just went, yeah, that's my dad. Because I don't think they got along. And I don't think my dad made the best impression upon him, or he made on whatever. I know my dad.
Kind of like when Pat Ganal passed away, when Bill Ganal did his memorial, he had a shirt. Did my dad piss you off, or did my dad make you mad? He wore that at his dad's memorial. Yeah.
That's a very honest shirt.
Yeah.
Honest shirt. In any event, this is like 1995, and it's like I'm just pining for a job. It's like, son of a bitch, I want a job working for Pete Shaporis so bad. I'm just looking at this shop. It's like the tools, the machinery, the people, the cars. I mean, like, this is just unreal. And it's like, oh shit, man, my dad's gonna. He's like, I go, yeah, that's my dad. And he goes, yeah, I know him. I know of him. Something to that effect, right? And it's like, gosh. He goes, well, that's all right. And you seem like a really good kid, and I'd like to give you a chance. I like your resume. I like your portfolio with all your cars and bikes. This is all looking real good. And you got some history there in Temple City and the San Gabriel area. And yeah, could be good. And he goes, I got one question, though. He's like, why the hell are you wearing a black long sleeve shirt? And it's like 110 degrees here today. And I went, shucks, my mom was right. You're never going to get a job with all those tattoos. And in 1995, as you know, tattoos were not cool. It's like nobody's like, oh, those are real job stoppers there. And I said, shucks.
There's still some old school hot rod and custom guys that aren't real impressed by tattoos. Like, ew, I don't know about those tattoos. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't care.
Yeah.
Too bad. But you're right. No, you're totally right. It's like I thought, okay, man, I've dodged a bullet a couple times here today. How far away I live, who my dad is, all this other stuff. And it's like, Fudge, he's going to get me on the tattoos. And I said, listen, I tell you what, right now, I understand what you're asking me. And the reason I've got a long sleeve shirt on is it's 1995. I've got like sleeved tattoos. And I said, but I tell you what, I'll wear a long sleeve shirt. Whatever. I understand, your image and all that. I don't want, to come across that way. He goes, but that's, I mean, I've got like loaded with tattoos. So he grabs my arm, he starts looking, he's like, moving my arms around. He's like, oh, that's cool. I like that. And then he goes, oh, check this out. He pulls up his sleeves. Oh, Jack Rudy did this tattoo. And then one night about 4 a.m, we were drinking some beers and Jack Rudy did that tattoo. And he goes, yeah, don't worry about the tattoos. I'm fine with that. Because my parents hated tattoos as well. So imagine that.
Yeah.
So then anyway, I got a job.
I did not know Pete had a Jack Rudy tattoo. So that even makes him even cooler in my book that Jack Rudy put some ink on him. Yeah.
Yeah. No, Pete was a cool cat. I love that guy a lot. I learned a lot from him. Spent almost 20 years working for him.
So when you started at SoCal, what did he give you? Like, I've heard stories of like somebody went to work for Boyd and they're like, oh, you got to restore this Cushman. Or did you just jump in on the hot rods? Did he give you like some teaser stuff? I mean, he didn't know what level you were, so you had to try you out somehow. What were you working on first?
I think the first project I had was on Bruce Myers' chopped red 32 3-window Scott blown Arden. You know that? You know that coupe?
Yeah, so you started right at the top level of he trusted you right from the bat, didn't he?
No, I built a license plate mount for it. It
okay.
bolted up between the tank and the body in the back. And that was my very first thing. Swear to God, was working on Bruce Myers' car. That was pretty cool. And then I got a job. It's like, that was kind of neat. I whittled this thing. I don't know why Jake was there. And Jake designed and had that Duval windshield on the Doane Spencer Roadster. And Mr. Myers wanted a rear view mirror. It bolted to these existing bolt holes. And I made a mirror and I shaped this whole neck to kind of match like the swan neck mirrors. And I made a left side mirror that bolted to this whole stanchion. And I shaped it all for the Doane Spencer Roadster.
Wow.
What do you think of that?
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty. And Jake gave me a compliment. It's like, this is unreal, dude. Pete and Jake are giving me a compliment. They let me build this on the Doane Spencer Roadster. Then I worked with Mike Cardenas.
I was totally waiting for and this didn't turn out well.
No, it worked out perfect. It worked out really nice. Then we worked on the McGee Roadster, Bob McGee Roadster. It was on the cover of Hot Rod Magazine, 1949. And of course, another one of Bruce Myers' cars he found, and we restored it there. I was on the tail end of it, but that had the copper Federal Mogul flatheads on it. And then I got to work on that car with Mike Cardenas. And then I made some kind of a center head clamp that did something. I'm sure it did something, but it's been like 30 years.
When you started there, who was the crew? Who was the people, your coworkers that worked there at that time?
There was Bill Stewart, Birdman, John Carambia, Tim Beard, Mike Cardenas, Dennis McNeil, Greg Peterson. Who else? Oh, of course, Shane Weckerly. Shane, he's like now like one of the head dudes over at Holly. Do you know him?
Yeah, Yep.
Gary.
Mhm.
Yeah, Shane was actually became like the foreman, shop foreman, and he lived in Arizona. And about that time too, I got in some trouble. I really didn't have a place to live either. So at SoCal, we had the bunk room, we had bunk beds, and we had a bathroom and a microwave and a refrigerator, and a picnic table. And so Shane lived there. He was top bunk. I was bottom bunk or floor, depending on who was there that, had a higher ranking than myself. If John Carambi was spending the night, well, then I don't get to sleep in the bed. I'm on the floor. So we had the bunk room.
We have Shane lined up. He's going to do our podcast too. So I bet we're going to get some good Jimmy Shine stories.
Oh God, I hope. No, I've got an understanding with Shane. There's a couple times, and no, yeah, just you talk to Shane and say, "Who's your bunkie?" He's my bunkie.
Yeah.
So yeah, dude, we had a lot of fun. Shane's a really smart, fun dude.
So Pete probably liked it when you were sleeping at the shop because he didn't have to worry about you getting stuck in traffic getting there.
No, but I always find a way to get in trouble. One of the stories Shane will tell you, he thought he was being really smart. Okay, so I shouldn't have been doing it. I get it. It's like 1997, 1998. So I got my 98-inch rigid shovel at the shop. I was currently not driving a vehicle for reasons of getting pulled over for doing not good things. I didn't have a driver's license, but I had a bicycle I kept at the shop, and there was a 7-Eleven about a block away. So when everybody split, me being as smart as I am, I jump on my bicycle with a backpack, ride down the street, and go buy me some beers, and come back to the shop and have a couple of beers. Nobody's over. I don't really have any adult supervision, but there was Shane. So I'm out there and I'm having a couple beers or whatever. And I'm working on my Harley, and it had a Morris M5 mag on it. And so I was out there and I was firing it up. I was doing something. He's like, "Jimmy, you shouldn't be riding that motorcycle. That's dangerous." I'm like, "Eat it, dude. I'll do what I want." So anyway, I went to the bathroom, did something, came back, and he tried to disable my motorcycle, thinking I wouldn't figure it out. Jackass. Shane was mad. He was yelling at me. I wonder if I figured it out. I was yelling at Shane, fire up my bike, and I was looking at him. It was like a kid, just like looking at him, just dropping the clutch and just doing like big, massive burnouts up and down, on either side of the building. And he was pissed. And then when I woke up in the morning, I realized that all that brand new concrete that was poured around the buildings was just striped up and down with my tire from my bike. And he's like, "Oh, fudge." Or Shane was like just laughing. He's like, "Oh, Pete's gonna just kick your ass, you're gonna get fired for sure." I'm out there early in the morning, sun's coming up. I'm trying to scrub all this black off the driveway. But yeah, man, the salad days. We had a lot of fun. Got in a lot
So
of
what
trouble.
did Pete say about the new burnouts on the new surface?
I don't remember. I think I scrubbed them pretty good. And then Nick Testa, who owned the building, I think he got into me a little bit over it. And I just said, "I'm sorry, I forgot." "You shouldn't do that. I forgot." But yeah.
So
No,
any time before you were bunking there, were you ever late?
No. Mm-mm. Never.
That's impressive. 68 miles in the LA area, because that could take you 2 hours on some days.
Oh, it'd probably take you more now, but I you figure out traffic. I knew what highway to be on and what lane, whatever, to grease through it. And you always leave yourself plenty of time to get there, before you should. If you're not early, you're late.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's the way
No,
our
good
generation
time.
thinks, not necessarily the
No,
generation
just
now.
So we got some in the pocket here. If we hear stories, embarrassing stories from Shane about you, do you have any embarrassing stories of Shane? Because he built his built his Willys at that time when he worked for the
Listen,
shop, which is
because if I said something now, listen to me, Tim. I want you to listen good. If I say something now, and then you tell Shane, he's like, "Well, Shine's got this on you." Well, it all holds, it's open game now, open season.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I got a good one. I got a couple of good ones on Shano. Dunk of Shane, Giraffe. I love him. But I got a couple good ones on him. Because Nikki and I spent a weekend out at his parents' house, Dennis and Cheryl, out in Camp Verde, before he and Stephanie got married. I was actually in Shane's wedding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
He's
wore
got
like
a really nice family. His kids come when we see him at the Bowling Green events, and I was a farm kid, so they were in 4-H. So he's got a really cool family, and he's got a
I haven't seen the kids since they were small. I haven't seen the kids since they were small, and I only run into Shane, here and there and a little bit, whatever.
He built his Willies at that time when he was at SoCal too, right?
Yep.
I still love that car. I keep telling his kids that he's left it in the will to me, and I think it's his daughter says she will fight me for that car. I think his daughter says she will fight me. Yeah, that's such.
Well, that's good. I'm glad she would.
Yeah. So it's in good hands. So what other 20 years you did a lot of stuff there. What are other some of your key cars that you remember that you got to be a part of at SoCal?
God, there's so many.
When was the Hard Shine TV show? What year was that? I remember the show, but I don't remember what year that was. 2000 something?
2001 or 2.
Okay.
It's been like 25 years.
Yeah. Okay.
I know. It just blows my mind. Yeah. So that was hard. Oh, wait, no, not Hard Shine. No, the first one was Hot Rod Build Up. That's what I'm thinking of.
Oh, okay.
But Hard Shine was in 2006. We started filming in 2006.
I don't remember. What was the Hot Rod Build Off show? What was that one?
It was 2 1-hour specials with Barry White, yellow roadster. And that's when I built that Scott Blown Arden roadster, the black one. Okay, and we were competing for AMBR and all this hullabaloo. It was a lot of fun. It was like, that was my first, introduction to TV. And I kind of forgot that they were filming me. So I was kind of a super jive turkey and doing a lot of dumb stuff. And they filmed it, just gobbled it up.
No.
But no, there's been TV involved, a lot of traveling. Swear to God, I'm a high school educated guy that's driven, but I've traveled the world, dude. I have traveled the world.
A little bit more on the Hard Shine. Do you remember any of them participants that were on there? The one guy pops up every once in a while on Instagram that kind of won it, but never. The deal was the top person at the end got a job offer, but he didn't take the job offer, if I remember right.
Yeah, little Dave Lohr.
Yeah,
little man. Yeah, it's TV. It was TV. I did offer Dave a job. He's like, no, I got seniority at Swedgelock. I'm going to go back there. He just retired about 6 months ago as well. He goes, I'm not going to blow that. I've been like
Indiana, right? Indiana guy?
Ohio.
Okay. I know he's Midwest someplace, but yeah.
Ohio. So, yeah, little Dave, he's building all kinds of cool stuff. I talk to him all the time. I love him. He's just a great guy. Yeah. And then Richie Noguera, he ended up going to work at SoCal. He worked there for a couple of years. Then he went to Tesla. I think he's like in Alabama or something now. Yeah, that's what I know.
Yeah. Cool. And was Hard Shine, was that just one season, or was there 2 seasons of that?
1 season.
Okay.
I think I upset some people.
Yeah.
I think the network. I wasn't really playing the network thing. I think I probably said a few of the wrong things. But whatever. I didn't want to do it.
TV people can. I've done TV. They can. Some of them don't have a sense of humor. I'm going to say it nicely. Yeah.
It's like you get kind of, and I can't say for everyone or all of it. I'd still do TV again to this day. I get offers, but it's nothing. Kind of read into it, like I don't know if I really want to be a part of that. I've done a lot of stuff.
I wouldn't. I haven't for a little while, but I had a lot of offers after my search and restore show was over after 2 years, and I never wanted to do like the drama, the fake drama. Like we had some interviews with a TV show that I don't think they ever did it for Netflix even, and they were gonna like, well, who can you fight with? And I was like, oh, I'm a small shop. And they're like, okay, so we'll find some model girl to plug in. And I'm like, I said, I'll stop you right there. Not your person. If that
Yeah.
person is a good looking person, male or female, and can handle themselves, I have no problem. But just as eye candy in there to cause drama, I am not doing that. I probably should have took a couple offers because maybe I would have made some money, but I've worked hard to be in this industry and I don't want to do TV that makes our industry look like a bunch of jackasses. That's
Right.
what it is.
Because long after the cameras are gone, I mean, it still is. They
Yeah.
really, and again, I understand the whole dynamic, but they started picking like the young guy against the old guy, like Pete and I during Hard Shine, because Pete
Mhm.
shot, but then they
Which now
started,
we look at ourselves, we would be the old guys now, right? Yeah.
yes, absolutely. But they were starting to pit me against him, and they would take things and cut it, and they would show people different stuff and get a different reaction. And I thought it was like I was really upset because like they wanted me to like talk smack on like Alex Zidius, the founder, and like I could do it better. Oh, you could do this different. And it's like you're actually talking about these legends, these people that I look up to are my
Mhm.
heroes, and you want me to say, well, just say it for TV. I go, once I see it on TV, it's out there forever. And
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
you can't take that back. And like, why would I ever want to insult somebody that I admire so much? Why would I
You talk
insult Pete
smack about
Shakur?
Alex Xvidius, somebody's gonna come knocking on your door at home.
But they know
Yeah.
you would know it's just fake crap.
Yeah.
It's like, well, wait a minute. Why can't we do some real fun stuff? Because I think there's a lot of fun that can be done on TV as well as educational. You do some
Mhm.
fun stuff, get people's interest. And once you get their interest, then you educate them and start showing them some real time things that they can
Yeah.
use in life, or whatever it might be.
Our last big pitch that we did, and it went quite a few levels and meetings. The pitch guy at what does they call it, Real Screen or something like that on like Washington or New York, that they do that once a year, and it was guys either second strike getting ready to go to prison or coming out of prison. And it went, and then finally the right executive seen it and says, nope, nobody's going to watch a TV show about doing good for people. They want drama. And if you can guarantee that somebody's going to prison and is going to screw up or rob your shop, then we can. I was like, no. We want to do something good. And they're like, yeah, we're not interested. And that was for Discovery Channel.
Yeah, well, but again, you can't dispute, the numbers. I mean, that demographic sells. If you got this formula that sells, well, that's what you're going to go and do.
Yeah.
But are you willing to do it? That's just
Yeah.
it. It's like, I'm not. And I've talked to quite a few people, that have been on TV and quite successful. It's like, yeah, that's kind of run its course and that ship has sailed. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't really want to do that anymore. And again, it's like, do we think I've got a good friend of mine that I become friends with that everybody knows, and we talk about it all the time. It's like, but what could be a TV show that we wouldn't be embarrassed to do and be
Right.
fun, and be excited to do, because a lot
Because
of
there's
it's just,
enough drama that comes up with parts and all that. You don't need to create drama in a hot rod shop. There's enough stupid
No,
shit
that-
that happens anyway. Yeah.
that's organic. That is absolutely
Yeah.
true. But yeah, I don't know.
I want a
TV.
real show. Like, why'd you stop working on that car and now you're working on this car? Well, it's because this guy didn't pay his bill, so this guy has money now. Nobody's going to show that. That's the
Those
real
parts didn't show up.
Yeah,
These
those
parts
parts,
showed
yeah,
up wrong.
he's got parts and he's got money and yeah, so yeah.
Yeah, true that. Mm.
So when you were there, I almost say that the Jimmy Shine shirts sold as well, if not bigger than any SoCal shirt, which there's SoCal shirts. I have a closet with SoCal shirts in it. And I've got a couple Jimmy Shine shirts in there. And did you get a kick on when they sold your Jimmy Shine shirts? Did you get a percentage, like a few bucks a shirt or something like that?
Absolutely, I'm fully trademarked. That's I absolutely, especially when I do like TV and all that. So yeah, licensing agreements, royalties, all that.
Mhm.
Absolutely, I have to control it. So yeah, and I think again, well, I think I was the right guy with the right look, doing the right thing with the right bike, the right car. And it was a really good, batch of ingredients. And Pete really pushed that too. It's like,
Yeah, and don't
You're
get me
my
wrong, you had to
guy.
look. The tattoos at that time were popular on TV. My tattoos, I got more than I had then, but this sleeve was on, and it come down for my show to me and another guy, and it was on Spike TV. Spike says we want the tattooed guy when it was down to me and the other guy. He was a clean
Mhm.
cut guy, and I wasn't, so they wanted me. I was the only one at the whole
Perceivably
show.
perceived as being, not clean cut. Yeah, they like that outlaw that image. I mean, image sells.
Hmm.
Image sells. And it's funny is like I talked to an exec from Discovery Channel. Listen, it's like we want the person that the guys want to be like. I want to be like him, and the girls want to be with. That is marketable and sellable.
Hmm.
So that lasted for a little while, but that's
Yeah,
that's how all that works. You okay over there? Feeling okay?
Yeah,
yeah, she's
I'm
calm.
surviving.
Yeah, our
Um,
cat likes you. Our cat doesn't show up for all the podcasts, but our cat will show up if he likes your voice. So Axel's hanging out tonight.
is that right? Well,
Yeah.
hello, Axel. And you have cats on
She's
your
calm.
cup too.
Yeah, she does. Yeah, we're cat friendly around here. So you worked for almost 20 years. Who else did you work with through those years? Was the VZ brothers there when you were there?
Yeah, the VZ boys started out working in like the shipping department,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm so impressed. I say we just had our Outriders meeting on Saturday, but yeah, Justin and Evan, super good, sweet dudes. They don't answer their phone ever, but yeah, no,
Yeah,
Justin and Evan, super good guys.
yeah.
Yeah,
We
we're
had them
supposed to go
on.
camping. We're supposed to go camping out here at El Mirage for the first race of the season.
Yeah, we were on a couple months ago. We had them
Mm.
on after they won the shortly after they won World's Most Beautiful Truck Award. We had them on that and the Good Guys Truck of the Year, I guess. So it's been maybe the
Yeah,
end of the
that
year.
Willie's pickup truck came out just beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. So I remember the first time I came to SoCal. We came out was the first time I came to the Roadster Show when it was in Southern California. Me and Sean Ray, Dave Neal flew out. Oh, Brent went. I know it was Sean Ray and Dave Neal, and we shop hopped for a while. And I walked into SoCal, and I remember Pete was on the phone. Of course, we're coming in town. People are getting their displays ready, and hell, I stopped by your shop one year in Orange, and you guys put me to work. Me and Noel were carrying your show display out for helping, and so I always hate stopping by shops, but I did that time. And I just remember there was like the cars, and then the time I stopped, Cadzilla was sitting in the shop getting ready to go to mix to get paint touched up. I just remember all the tubs of t-shirts, and I'm like, oh man, they sell way more than I think they do of shirts. And there wasn't as many people in the shop as I was kind of expecting at that time. I don't remember what year that was, so I don't know if you were there or you were gone by then. Even were you there when the Cadzilla came to get repainted?
Oh yeah. Well, that's when
Okay.
I went to Goodwood Festival of Speed.
Hmm.
Pete, Billy, and Jeff Beck, and Cadzilla got loaded down here in Long Beach to go in a container. And we had built ramps and everything because Cadzilla is all static; it's not on air or anything or
Hmm.
hydros. And like she's a Lolo, and being the union dock workers down there, it's like Pete was there, I wasn't there, and Pete's like, "Hey, we built these ramps. You guys need to use these, otherwise that car is going to drag getting loaded into that container." They go,
Hmm.
"We know what we're doing. This is our job. You don't come any closer than 60 feet or whatever." These guys didn't use the ramps that we built, and they put Cadzilla in. Wham! Just took out the rockers on both sides.
Oh.
Um, that's a candy paint job. You don't spot repair candy. It was a
Hmm.
complete repaint.
Oh wow.
Complete. You do. What do you do?
Yeah.
There's nothing you could do. And that when was Cadzilla painted? 88, 89.
Yeah. Something like
I
that.
think that's when it was. Oh yeah, so the whole car had to be totally stripped.
And you can't take
Totally
it to like
stripped.
Earl Scheib or Mako. You got to
No,
paint it
Mick Jenkins
quality.
did it, and Paco Castillo. Paco did all that. I think Paco did all the body work, stripped it, prepped it, all that, and then Mick Jenkins laid the paint on it. So yeah, that was 2000. I was there, trying to figure out.
Yeah.
I'm just trying
Good
to
time.
remember where it was. It was out there in Area 52, behind my little office. It must have been 2008, 9, 10, something like that, maybe. Yeah.
Like I can't remember. That was the first year I went to the Roadster show in SoCal, and we had the meeting with Hanson's before we built the Buick. I should know that. I should know that date.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with 2009. That's what I'm gonna go with.
Probably.
Anyway,
that's pretty close.
So, what made the decision to leave SoCal and then start your shop? Just time.
It was time. It was time. I had nowhere else to go in SoCal, and it was just kind of time. Actually, we're gonna leave that story for another day.
Okay.
We're gonna two-part this because
Okay.
actually, from where we're going here, we've got like another hour and a half. So if we could like two-part this, might be best. This might be a good time because give me some time because that's the next step in this whole story. After leaving SoCal after almost 20 years, and all the Bonneville we did and the racing and God, man, that was
I warned you. We've talked almost an hour and 20 minutes already, and we're just like halfway into your story.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know what? I think what I would like to ask, like, let's make this a two-part. I've got my phone going off here. I got to take care of stuff, which is great. I'm really enjoying this. Let's two-part this. Let's two-part it. And then that question you just asked me is a kind of a hard one to answer. And it's not going to make sense right now. I have to think about how I'm going to say that.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So this has been part 1
of
the Strange Motion Way podcast with Jimmy Shine. We don't know when part 2 will come up. We'll schedule it. It probably won't be next week, but we'll schedule it, and it will be coming up before you know it. So, So tell everybody where they can find your website, your social media, all that, if they need to contact you, buy some merch or whatever.
Oh, it's Jimmy Shine. God, where's my website? I think it's Shine Speed Shop. Shine Speed Shop, and then like our like Instagram is like, I think it's Shine_Speed Shop. But if you just Google anything like Jimmy Shine or whatever, it all comes up. It's got quite a few. So yeah.
And as he said earlier today, when I was talking to him in the shop, he goes, his wife owns a hot rod shop and he gets to work there. That's what he said. Yeah.
What it feels like. Yeah. She runs the smart end of the business. I hit things with hammers and sticks and rocks and weld and hope for the best.
So tune in for an upcoming part 2 with Jimmy Shine.
The Strange Motion Way podcast, brought to you by
Royal Purple. Premium synthetic motor oils and high-performance chemicals have been designed to improve performance, provide long-term protection, and give you the confidence to push your vehicle to the limit. Royal Purple Premium Synthetic Motor Oils.